10 years after first contact, the old Galactic Council was gone. In its place stood the Free Species Alliance, and the galaxy had learned to see the impossible as merely difficult. Captain Oye-jun guided his exploration ship, the Breakthrough, toward the edge of known space. His mission was to make contact with the mysterious Void Dwellers, ancient beings that had hidden in the darkness between galaxies for millions of years. "Captain, we are receiving a response to our peaceful contact message," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Jiang Minho. For thousands of years, the old council had been too afraid to approach the Void Dwellers. Their technology was beyond understanding, their intentions unknown. Most species believed they were hostile, but humans had a different approach to meeting strangers. "This is Captain Oye-jun of the Free Species Alliance ship Breakthrough," he broadcast. "We come not as conquerors or supplicants, but as fellow travelers in this universe. We are curious about your people and would like to learn from each other." The response came in a voice that sounded like starlight given form. "You speak differently than the others who have approached us. You do not demand submission or offer tribute. Why? Because we have learned that the universe is more interesting when everyone is free to choose their own path," Captain O replied. On the former Draknor homeworld, now called New Harmony, Commander Rex Starfury worked alongside human engineers to rebuild his world's damaged cities. The Draknor Empire had collapsed 2 years earlier, not through conquest but through transformation. The old ways brought only war, Rex told his construction crew, which included humans, Kethmori, and reformed Draknor working together. "These humans showed us that strength comes from cooperation, not domination." Many Draknor had struggled to adapt to the new galaxy. Some had retreated to distant worlds, unable to accept that their empire was gone. But others, like Rex, had embraced the human philosophy that every ending was a new beginning. Dr. Ryu Ji-ho stood in the main hall of the Interspecies Academy on New Terra, humanity's first colony world outside their home system. Around her, students from 47 different species attended classes together. "Today we will study applied optimism," she announced to her mixed class of young beings. "Can anyone tell me the basic principle?" A young Kethmori raised her insectoid limb. "Every problem contains the seeds of its own solution?" "Excellent," Hive student Kixthan. "And what do we do when we cannot find those seeds immediately?" A Draknor youth spoke up. "We keep looking until we find them, Teacher Ryu. Giving up is just choosing to stop before we succeed." Dr. Ryu smiled. These young beings were learning lessons that their parents' generations had thought impossible. They were learning to think like humans. In the Advanced Technology Laboratory, Chief Science Officer Crix Starseeker worked with engineer Quan Tae-hyun on their latest breakthrough. The Nexari scientist had become one of humanity's closest allies after years of studying human determination. "The quantum communication array is ready for testing," Quan announced. "If this works, we can coordinate activities across the entire galaxy in real time." Crix manipulated the crystalline controls with his four-fingered hands. Combining human creativity with Nexari precision and Kethmori hive mind networking. 3 years ago, our species barely spoke to each other. Now we are building wonders together. The test was successful. For the first time in galactic history, beings on opposite sides of the galaxy could speak to each other instantly. On Viridian Prime, ancient Thane Whisperwind lay in his final resting chamber. The old keeper was dying, but he was not sad. Young beings from dozens of species had come to hear his last words. "The elders spoke truly," he whispered to the gathered crowd. "The relentless ones have come, and they have changed everything. But they did not conquer us. They taught us to conquer our own fears." Ambassador Lee Soo-young, now the first human to serve as Alliance Supreme Coordinator, knelt beside the ancient being. "What should we remember most about your warnings, Elder Thane?" "Remember that I was wrong about one thing," Thane said with his final breath. "I said humans were unstoppable, but the truth is they never intended to stop. They intended to bring everyone else along for the journey." The galaxy mourned Thane's passing, but his words lived on. Across thousands of worlds, species that had once lived in fear were building new societies based on human principles. The Luminari had learned to combine their natural peacemaking abilities with human determination. They now served as mediators in conflicts across the galaxy, refusing to accept that any dispute was unsolvable. The Voltan Consortium had discovered that fair trade was more profitable than exploitation. Trade Master Quinn Goldclaw had become wealthy beyond imagination, by helping species develop their own resources instead of stealing them. Even the scattered Draknor were finding new purposes. Some had become explorers, using their warrior training to protect expeditions into dangerous regions of space. Others had become teachers, sharing their knowledge of tactics and strategy with Alliance military academies. But humanity's greatest test was yet to come. President Shin Bo-ra stood in the Alliance Command Center on Earth, reading reports that chilled her soul. Long-range sensors at the galaxy's edge had detected something that made even humans pause. "Tell me again what we are facing," she said to Admiral Zhang Miran, humanity's top military commander. "An ancient machine intelligence from beyond our galaxy," the Admiral replied. "Our scouts report that it has consumed entire galaxies, turning all matter into extensions of itself. It is heading toward us. How long do we have? 5 years, maybe less." President Shin looked around the command center at the mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. "Have we contacted the species that refused to join the Alliance?" "We have sent messages to all of them," reported Communications Director Park Subin. "Most have not responded. The hegemony of pure thought sent a message saying they would rather face extinction than accept human help." President Shin nodded sadly. Some species had been so terrified by human success that they had isolated themselves completely. "What about our allies?" she asked. "Every Alliance member has pledged their full support," Admiral Zhang reported. "The Keth Mori are mobilizing their entire population. The reformed Draknor are offering their best warriors. Even the Void Dwellers have agreed to help. And our chances of success?" Admiral Zhang looked at the data again. The enemy had technology that was millions of years ahead of anything the galaxy possessed. Its forces numbered in the trillions. It had never been defeated. "According to all mathematical models, we have no chance," she said honestly. "This enemy is impossible to defeat." President Shin smiled. It was the same smile her ancestors had worn when facing impossible odds throughout human history. "Then we will do what humans have always done," she said. "We will find a way to make the impossible possible." The message went out across the galaxy instantly, carried by the quantum communication network that human-allied scientists had built. "Citizens of the Free Species Alliance," President Shin's voice reached every world simultaneously. "We face an enemy that calls itself unstoppable. It believes that resistance is futile. It thinks that all intelligent life will surrender or be consumed." On 1,000 worlds, billions of beings listened to her words. This enemy does not understand what it is facing. It has never encountered a galaxy where species refuse to give up. It has never fought beings who get stronger when challenged. It has never faced the power of creatures who believe that every problem has a solution. In the Alliance military academies, young officers from dozens of species stood at attention as they heard their orders. "We will show this ancient machine what the galaxy has learned from humanity. We will teach it that some forces in the universe cannot be consumed or defeated. We will prove that when free beings work together, nothing is impossible." The final scene took place in the training centers scattered across Alliance space. Human instructors worked with alien students, all preparing for the greatest challenge their galaxy had ever faced. Instructor Colonel Nam Ho-seok addressed a mixed class of young officers from 12 different species. "Remember what you have learned here. When the ancient enemy tells you that resistance is futile, what do you say?" The young beings responded in unison, their voices carrying the determination of a dozen worlds. "We say that futility is just another word for a problem we have not solved yet." Captain Lee Min-jung, the youngest human to command an Alliance starship, looked out at the stars from her bridge. Somewhere out there an impossible enemy was approaching, but she was not afraid. She was human. She was part of the Alliance, and she had learned that the word impossible was just the starting point for every great achievement. The galaxy had learned to think like humans. Now it was time to fight like them too. "Set course for the galactic rim," she ordered her mixed crew. "Let us go meet the impossible and show it what we have learned about the word never." The old galaxy, where species accepted their limits and submitted to stronger powers, was gone forever. In its place stood something new, a galaxy where every species had learned humanity's greatest secret. There was always a way. They just had to be determined enough to find it. 5 years after first contact, the galaxy had learned to fear a new word: human. Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the human battleship Determination as it approached the enslaved world of Keth Prime. Below on the planet's surface, millions of insect-like beings called the Kethmori had lived under Draknor rule for 300 years. "Admiral, we are receiving a message from the Kethmori Underground Resistance," reported Communications Officer Lee Soo-jin. "They are asking if the stories about humans are true." "Which stories?" Admiral Park asked. "That humans fight to free others, not just to conquer them." Admiral Park smiled. "Tell them the stories are true. Tell them help has arrived." The human fleet had grown from a few experimental ships to hundreds of vessels. They were not the biggest ships in the galaxy, but they were the smartest. Human engineers had learned to make their ships do things that alien designers said were impossible. Captain Oh Ye-jun commanded the ship Persistence, which could split apart and rebuild itself during battle. Engineer Kwon Tae-hyun had designed ships that could eat asteroids and turn them into weapons. Dr. Ryu Ji-ho had created vessels that could hide inside gas clouds and strike without warning. But the most important human innovation was not technology. It was attitude. The Draknor fleet defending Keth Prime was commanded by General Moore Ironfist. He expected the humans to attack directly like most species did. Instead, the human ships began broadcasting messages to every Kethmori on the planet. "People of Keth Prime," Admiral Park's voice echoed across the world, "you do not have to live as slaves. Today you can choose to be free. We will help you, but first you must help yourselves." For 3 centuries, the Kethmori had accepted their slavery. Their leaders had taught them that resistance was impossible. The Draknor were too strong. Fighting back would only bring more suffering. But then something unprecedented happened. In the underground tunnels where the Kethmori lived, a young worker named Hive Singer Narthix heard the human message and made a choice. "If beings from another world can travel here to help us," she told her fellow workers, "then maybe we can help ourselves." The Kethmori uprising began in the deepest tunnels and spread upward like fire. The Draknor soldiers on the planet had never faced a slave rebellion before. They did not know how to fight people who had decided they would rather die than remain slaves. General Moore Ironfist found himself fighting 2 wars at once. Human ships attacked his fleet in space while Kethmori rebels attacked his forces on the ground. "This is impossible," he told his officers. "Slaves do not rebel. They do not know how to fight." "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "the humans have been sending them messages for months. They have been teaching the Kethmori how to fight." That was when General Moore realized something terrifying. Humans did not just refuse to surrender. They taught other species to refuse surrender too. The battle for Keth Prime lasted 6 days. When it ended, the Draknor forces had been defeated not by human weapons, but by the simple human idea that freedom was worth fighting for. Hive Singer Narthix met with Admiral Park after the battle. "Why did you help us?" she asked. "What do humans gain from our freedom?" "We gain allies," Admiral Park replied. "We gain friends. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing." This was a concept that confused most galactic species. They fought for territory, for resources, for power. Humans seemed to fight for ideas. Meanwhile, on the trade world of Nexus Station, Trademaster Quinn Goldclaw was conducting secret negotiations with human representatives. Ambassador Lee Soo-young had brought proposals that amazed the Voltan businessmen. "You want us to break our trade agreements with the Draknor Empire?" Quinn asked. "We want you to make new agreements with free species," Ambassador Lee replied. "We can show you markets you never imagined. Species that will trade fairly instead of demanding tribute." The Voltan Consortium had always followed one rule. Profit came first. But humans offered something better than profit. They offered partnership. "If we join with you, the Draknor will declare war on us," Quinn pointed out. "If you join with us, you will never have to fear the Draknor again," Ambassador Lee promised. On Earth, Dr. Kim Soo-ah published research that sent shockwaves through the galactic scientific community. Her study of alien psychology revealed something that most species had never realized about themselves. Nearly every galactic species evolved from prey animals, her report stated. Their survival instincts tell them to submit to stronger predators. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Our survival instincts tell us to never give up the chase. The report explained why humans acted so differently from other species. When most aliens faced overwhelming odds, their biology told them to surrender. When humans faced overwhelming odds, their biology told them to try harder. General Vex Stormclaw read Dr. Kim's report in his command center on the Draknor homeworld. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. If this research is correct, he told his aide, then humans are not just stubborn. They are biologically incapable of accepting defeat. The aide, a young Draknor named Commander Rex Starfury, had been studying human tactics. "Sir, what if we are fighting this war wrong?" "What do you mean?" "What if instead of trying to defeat them, we try to understand them?" General Vex stared at his young officer. In Draknor culture, such questions were close to treason. But the humans had already proven that many old ideas were wrong. The war's turning point came at the siege of Korvax Prime, the strongest Draknor fortress world. General Han Min Seo led the human assault force, knowing that his ships were outnumbered 10-1. The battle should have been a human defeat. The Draknor had stronger weapons, better shields, and more ships. They surrounded the human fleet and cut off their supplies. But humans had learned something important about siege warfare. They had learned it from their own history, from ancient battles where determined defenders held out against impossible odds. "We are not here to break their defenses quickly," General Han told his officers. "We are here to show them that we will never leave." The siege lasted 6 months. The Draknor expected the humans to run out of food and ammunition. Instead, the humans started growing food using Draknor soil and manufacturing weapons from asteroid debris. When their ships were damaged, humans would patch them with metal from destroyed enemy vessels. When their weapons broke, they would build new ones from scrap. Captain Choi Yu-na commanded a human destroyer that had been hit so many times it barely looked like a ship anymore. But it kept fighting. "Sir, our main weapons are destroyed," her weapons officer reported. "Then we use the secondary weapons." "Secondary weapons are destroyed too, sir. Then we use the engines as weapons. Ram the nearest enemy ship." The Draknor crews watching this battle could not understand what they were seeing. These humans should have surrendered months ago. Instead, they seemed to be enjoying the challenge. Commander Rex Starfury was part of the Draknor Defense Force. He watched human crews working on their damaged ships and realized something that horrified him. "They are not trying to survive this battle," he told his fellow officers. "They are trying to win it. Even if it kills them all." That was when the Draknor garrison began to crack. They had been trained to fight enemies who wanted to live. They had never faced enemies who cared more about winning than surviving. The breakthrough came when human engineers managed to dig tunnels under the fortress walls. Not with advanced technology, but with simple tools and human determination. "They are mining under our fortress," the Draknor commander reported to General Vex. "Like primitive animals." "How long until they break through?" General Vex asked. "At their current rate, 3 weeks. Then we have time to bring reinforcements." "Sir, they have been digging for 5 months. They have not stopped working even under constant bombardment. I do not think reinforcements will help." When the human tunnel bombs destroyed the fortress walls, the Draknor defense collapsed. But the real victory was not the capture of the fortress. It was the effect on Draknor morale throughout the galaxy. Word spread that humans had taken the strongest Draknor fortress through sheer determination. Species that had been enslaved for centuries began to whisper about rebellion. On Viridian Prime, Thane Whisperwind received visitors. Half the species in the galaxy were sending secret representatives to ask about humanity. "Is it true that humans will help any species that wants freedom?" asked an envoy from the enslaved Malari people. "Is it true that humans share their technology with their allies?" asked a representative of the Spiral Arm Trading Guild. "Is it true that humans have never lost a war?" asked a nervous diplomat from the Outer Rim colonies. Thane looked at all these hopeful faces and felt both proud and sad. Proud because the humans were doing exactly what the elders had predicted. Sad because he knew the old galaxy was ending. "The humans are not just winning battles," he told the gathered representatives. "They are teaching the galaxy that battles can be won. They are showing everyone that the word impossible is just another challenge to overcome." Young Crick Starseeker approached Thane after the meeting. "The council is calling for an emergency session. They want to discuss the human problem." 2 years had passed since the first alien attack on Earth. The galaxy watched with growing worry as humanity did something no other species had ever done. They learned faster than anyone thought possible. Engineer Bae Dong-wook worked in a secret facility built deep inside a mountain in South Korea. Around him, hundreds of human scientists and engineers studied every piece of alien technology they could find. They had taken apart alien weapons, alien computers, and pieces of alien ships. The energy source is the key, Bay told his team. If we can copy how they make power, we can build ships that match theirs. Dr. Shin Yuri had made an amazing discovery in her materials laboratory. By mixing human steel with alien metals, she had created something stronger than either material alone. It should not work, she told her assistant, Dr. Lee Min-jun. Human and alien science are completely different. But somehow when we combine them, we get something better than both. Captain Lee Jinnah stood on the bridge of humanity's first real starship. The ship was called New Hope, and it was built using everything humans had learned about alien technology. It was not as big as the alien ships, but it was fast and smart. Run the test again, she ordered her crew. The ship's new engines could move faster than light, just like alien ships could. But human engineers had added something the aliens did not have. They had added creativity. On Viridian Prime, the Galactic Council was meeting again. This time they were not talking about conquering humans. They were talking about stopping them. The human expansion must be controlled, announced Speaker Voth. They have built colonies throughout their solar system in just 2 years. This speed is impossible. Nothing is impossible for humans, said Thane Whisperwind. The Old Keeper looked even more worried than before. That is what makes them dangerous. General Vex Stormclaw was angry and embarrassed. His great Draknor Empire was supposed to be the strongest military force in the galaxy, but now everyone was talking about humans instead of fearing the Draknor. I demand permission to finish what I started, he told the council. Give me a full war fleet. I will destroy every human ship and base. But Trademaster Quinn Goldclaw had different ideas. His people, the Voltan Consortium, made money by trading with different species. He had been secretly watching human activities and he saw an opportunity. Perhaps we should trade with them instead of fighting them, he suggested. They have new ideas that could make us all rich. You want to trade with creatures that refuse to surrender? General Vex asked. I want to trade with creatures that find solutions to impossible problems, Quinn replied. Young Crick Starseeker had been conducting secret research about human behavior. What he found scared him more than any weapon. I have studied the brain patterns of many species, he reported to Thane privately. Most species have biological limits. When they face too much stress or danger, their brains tell them to stop. To give up, it keeps them alive. And humans? Thane asked. Humans seem to have broken brains, Crick said. When they face stress or danger, instead of stopping, they think harder. They try more solutions. They push themselves beyond what should be possible. The elders called it the relentless gene, Thane said quietly. They said it would either save the galaxy or destroy it. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Lee Jinnah was about to prove just how dangerous human creativity could be. Her ship, New Hope, encountered a Draknor patrol of 3 warships. The alien commander, Captain Tor Bloodfang, sent the usual surrender demand. Human ship, you are outnumbered. Surrender now and you will be treated well. Captain Lee looked at her crew. They were all young humans who had grown up hearing stories about Captain Kim Tae-jun's sacrifice. They knew they were facing superior firepower. Send a reply, Lee told her communications officer. Tell them we refuse. The Draknor ships attacked immediately. New Hope was fast, but not fast enough to outrun 3 enemy ships. Captain Lee knew she could not win a normal fight, so she decided not to fight normally. All crew, prepare for emergency separation, she announced. New Hope was built in sections that could separate if needed. As the Draknor ships fired their weapons, Lee split her ship into 5 pieces. Each piece flew in a different direction. The alien commander was confused. What are they doing? Are they surrendering? They were not surrendering. Each section of New Hope contained weapons and a small crew. Now, instead of fighting 1 human ship, the Draknor had to fight 5 smaller ships that moved in ways they did not expect. One section of New Hope crashed into the nearest Draknor ship on purpose, just like Captain Kim had done with his space station. But the humans had learned from that sacrifice. This section was designed to separate at the last moment, letting the crew escape while the empty hull destroyed the alien ship. Another section used its engines as weapons, creating a blast of energy that disabled a second Draknor ship. The third alien ship tried to escape, but the remaining human ship sections worked together to surround it. Captain Tor Bloodfang could not believe what he was seeing. How can they fight like this? They should be afraid to die. Sir, his weapons officer reported. They are not trying to avoid death. They are trying to accomplish their mission. For the first time in Draknor military history, a Draknor patrol surrendered to an enemy. News of the battle spread through the galaxy faster than light travel. Species that had never heard of humans before suddenly wanted to know everything about them. On Earth, Commander Nam Hosiok was training a new generation of space marines. These soldiers were being taught to fight in ways that no other species would understand. Remember, he told his trainees, aliens expect us to fight like they do. They expect us to retreat when hurt, to surrender when outnumbered. We will do the opposite. We will attack when hurt. We will split into smaller groups when outnumbered. We will use every disadvantage as an advantage. Dr. Yang Eunji was working on something even more dangerous than new weapons. She was studying alien psychology and developing ways to fight their minds as well as their ships. Most galactic species evolved from prey animals, she explained to the military commanders. When they feel fear, their first instinct is to hide or submit. We evolved from hunters. When we feel fear, we attack. Her research was creating new tactics that confused alien enemies. Humans would pretend to retreat, then attack from unexpected directions. They would act scared, then turn the fear into rage. Thane Whisperwind met secretly with Crick Starseeker in his private chambers on Viridian Prime. I have found more of the Elder Texts, Thane said, showing ancient writings to the young scientist. They speak of the Relentless Ones in greater detail. Crix read the old words carefully. It says here that the Relentless Ones would not just be impossible to defeat. They would teach other species to be relentless too. That is what I fear most, Thane replied. Humans are not just refusing to lose. They are showing other species that losing is a choice, not a certainty. Already some species were beginning to change. The enslaved Kethamori had heard stories about human battles. For the first time in centuries, some of them were talking about fighting back against their Draknor masters. The peaceful Luminari were asking questions about human defensive techniques. They wanted to protect themselves without hurting others, but they had never learned how to fight at all. Even some young Draknor warriors were secretly admiring human tactics. They had been taught that retreat was shameful, but humans had shown that tactical retreat could lead to greater victory. On Earth, President Yu Hiejin received reports from all over the planet. Human technology was advancing at an incredible rate. Human colonies were spreading through the solar system. Human ships were exploring beyond their home system for the first time. How long before we are ready for whatever comes next? She asked General Choi Minho. We will never be completely ready, the general replied honestly, but that has never stopped us before. In the deep space between star systems, Captain Lee Jinna was leading a small fleet of human ships toward their first contact with alien civilians. They had heard distress calls from a trading vessel under attack by pirates. Captain, her navigator called out, the attacked ship is not human. Should we still help them? Lee Jinna thought about all the humans who had died in the first alien attack. She thought about Captain Kim's sacrifice. She thought about what it meant to be human. Of course we help them, she said. That is what humans do. The galaxy was about to learn that humans did not just refuse to lose, they refused to let others lose either. And that was going to change everything. The Draknor fleet came out of faster-than-light travel like angry thunder. 50 massive warships appeared in Earth's solar system, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. General Vex Stormclaw stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue world ahead. Send the message, he ordered. On Earth, every radio and television stopped working for a moment. Then a new voice spoke in perfect human languages. People of Earth, you are now part of the Galactic Council. You have 24 hours to surrender your weapons and your leaders. If you resist, your cities will burn. This is how it has always been. This is how it will be for you. Captain Kim Tae-jun was commanding the space station Harmony when the alien ships appeared. The station was humanity's biggest structure in space, with 500 people living and working on it. Dr. Park So-min was there too, studying the strange readings her instruments had been picking up. Captain, his communications officer called out, we are getting surrender demands from Earth. The government wants all military units to stand down. Kim Tae-jun looked out at the alien ships. They were huge and powerful. His space station had some weapons, but nothing that could fight those monsters. Any reasonable person would surrender, but Kim Tae-jun was human. Send a message to the alien ships, he said calmly. Tell them we refuse. On Earth, President Yu He-jin stood in the emergency command center deep under Seoul. General Choi Min-ho was coordinating Earth's defenses, while Dr. Park So-min's research partner, Dr. Yang Yoonji, worked to understand the alien technology. They are showing us their power, General Choi reported. They just destroyed our research bases on the moon. 300 people died. Do they expect us to surrender now? President Yu asked. That is exactly what they expect, Dr. Yang said. I have been studying their broadcasts. They have done this many times before. They show their power, demand surrender, and every species gives up immediately. But we are not every species, President Yu said quietly. The alien commander, Admiral Corks Ironjaw, could not believe what he was hearing. The humans had refused to surrender. No species had ever done that after seeing Draknor power. Perhaps they did not understand. He told General Vex over the communication system. Should I destroy one of their cities to make them understand better? Wait, General Vex replied. This is interesting. I want to see what they do next. What the humans did next surprised everyone. Captain Kim Tae-jun ordered his space station to attack the nearest alien ship. The weapons were small compared to what the aliens had, but they were something. The alien ship barely noticed the damage, but it noticed the attack. They are shooting at us, Admiral Corks reported, sounding confused. Their weapons cannot hurt us, but they keep shooting. Down on Earth, every military base came alive. Fighter jets that could not reach space got ready anyway. Soldiers who had never fought aliens checked their weapons. Citizens who had never been soldiers started making plans to fight too. Jang Subin was a mechanic in Busan. He worked on cars and trucks. When he heard about the alien attack, he started thinking about how to make bombs from car parts. Won Mi-kyung was a farmer outside Seoul. She knew how to grow food and raise animals. Now she was thinking about how to hide food and weapons in case the aliens took over the cities. All across Earth, people were doing the same thing. They were getting ready to fight. This makes no sense, Admiral Corks told General Vex. They cannot win. Why are they fighting? General Vex was starting to feel worried. In all his wars, enemies had either surrendered quickly or fought briefly before giving up. These humans seemed to be getting more determined as time went on. Destroy their space station, he ordered. That will show them. Admiral Corks fired on the Harmony station. The first blast damaged it badly. Captain Kim Tae-jun knew his station was dying. His crew was preparing to evacuate, but then Dr. Park So-min made a discovery. Captain, I have been scanning their ships while they shoot at us, she said, her voice excited even though they were about to die. Their shields have a weak spot. If we hit them at the right angle with enough force, we do not have enough force, Captain Kim pointed out. Dr. Park smiled. We do if we use the station itself as a weapon. It was a crazy idea. It meant everyone on the station would die, but it also meant they might hurt the aliens badly enough to help Earth. Captain Kim made the announcement to his crew. Anyone who wants to evacuate, get to the escape pods now. Anyone who wants to fight, stay with me. Most of the crew stayed. Captain Kim aimed the dying station at the alien flagship and pushed the engines to maximum power. The station moved slowly at first, then faster and faster. What are they doing? Admiral Corks asked, watching the station move toward him. They are ramming us, General Vex realized. But that will kill them all. Why would they do that? Admiral Corks could not understand. The Harmony station hit the Draknor flagship like a missile made of metal and determination. The alien ship's shields failed. The impact tore a huge hole in the hull. Captain Kim Tae-jun and most of his crew died, but they took 500 alien warriors with them. Dr. Park So-min had evacuated at the last moment, carrying crucial data about alien technology. As her escape pod fell toward Earth, she saw the alien ship burning in space. General Vex stared at the damage to his flagship. No species had ever sacrificed themselves just to hurt his forces. It made no sense. Admiral, pull back the fleet, he ordered. We need to think about this. Sir, they are just one small species. We should destroy them now. No, General Vex said slowly. I begin to understand what the old keeper was warning us about. On Earth, the news of Captain Kim's sacrifice spread quickly. Instead of making people want to surrender, it made them want to fight harder. They can hurt them, General Choi announced to his officers. If Captain Kim could damage their flagship with a space station, we can find other ways to fight. President Yu addressed the world that night. The aliens think we will surrender because their technology is better than ours. They do not understand that humans have something more important than technology. We have the refusal to give up. The Draknor fleet moved away from Earth, but they did not leave the solar system. General Vex was thinking. He had fought many wars, but never against a species like this. On Viridian Prime, Thane Whisperwind received the reports from Earth with sadness and fear. It has begun, he told Crix Starseeker. The humans have shown the galaxy what they are. Now everything will change. Maybe the Council will listen to your warnings now, Crix suggested. Thane shook his head. It is too late for warnings. The humans have tasted galactic warfare. They have seen alien technology. They have learned that the galaxy is not empty. What will they do now? What they always do, Thane replied. They will find a way to turn this disaster into an opportunity. They will learn everything they can from what happened. And then they will become stronger. Back on Earth, Dr. Park So-min was already working with the data she had collected. Dr. Yang Yunji and Engineer Bae Dong-wook were studying the pieces of alien technology that had fallen to Earth when the flagship was damaged. We can learn from this, Dr. Park told the Emergency Science Committee. We can understand how their ships work. We can build better weapons. How long will that take? General Choi asked. Give us 2 years, Engineer Bae said confidently. General Vex did not know it yet, but he had just made the biggest mistake in Draknor military history. He had given the humans time to learn, and humans were very, very good at learning from their mistakes. The crystal towers of Viridian Prime stretched toward the stars like frozen lightning. Inside the Great Hall, 12 different alien species sat around a massive table made from a single piece of glowing stone. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in the known universe. Today they had gathered to discuss something new, something that made some of them excited and others worried. A new species has been found, announced Speaker Voth, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. They live on the 3rd planet of a small star system. They call their world Earth and themselves humans. The council members leaned forward. New species were always interesting. Most of the time, they were easy to control. The Draknor Empire would show their ships and weapons. The new species would surrender quickly. Then they would become part of the galactic community following all the rules. But then Thane Whisperwind entered the hall. Thane was old, even for his people called the Keepers. His kind had watched the galaxy for thousands of years. His silver robes moved like water as he walked to the center of the room. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but everyone heard him clearly. Do not contact these humans, Thane said. Leave them alone. Let them stay on their small world. General Vex Stormclaw of the Draknor Empire laughed. He was a big warrior with red scales and sharp teeth. Old Keeper, you worry too much. What can one small species do against us? We have conquered 100 worlds. That is exactly why you should listen, Thane replied. The elders, the ones who came before us all, they left warnings. They spoke of a species that would not give up, a species that becomes stronger when hurt, a species that does not know how to quit. Ambassador Zira Lightweaver of the peaceful Luminari people shook her head. Her people glowed with soft light and believed in helping others. Surely you do not mean to leave them alone forever. Every species deserves to join the galactic community. We can teach them. We can help them. You do not understand, Thane said. These humans are different. I have watched them from far away. When their cities burn, they rebuild them bigger. When their people die, the survivors fight harder. When they face something impossible, they find a way to make it possible. The trade master of the Vultan Consortium, a gold-skinned being called Quinn Goldclaw, tapped the table with his claws. Old stories and fears. If they are so special, we should trade with them. New species always have something useful. Meanwhile, far away on Earth's moon, Commander Lee Daeho sat in his chair at Luna Base. He was watching the space around Earth like he did every day. His job was to look for anything strange or dangerous. For weeks he had been seeing odd signals, ships that appeared for a moment and then disappeared. Something is out there, he told his assistant, Lieutenant Park Jinsu. They think we cannot see them, but we can. On Earth, Dr. Park So-min worked in her laboratory in Seoul. She studied the possibility of life on other worlds. Her instruments had been picking up strange energy readings from space. The patterns were too organized to be natural. These readings show intelligence, she told her research team. Someone is watching us. Back on Viridian Prime, young Crix Starseeker of the Nexari people listened to Thane's words. The Nexari were known for being curious and smart. Crix had studied many species and their behaviors. Something about the old keeper's warning felt important. What exactly did the elder say about this species? Crix asked. Thane's ancient eyes looked sad. They said that one day a species would rise that did not understand the word impossible. A species that would look at any problem and say, "We will find a way." They called them the Relentless Ones. The elder said these beings would either save the galaxy or change it forever. Old myths, General Vex said, slamming his fist on the table. We are the Draknor Empire. We have never lost a war. These humans will bow to us like all the others. The vote was called. Most of the council wanted to make contact with humanity. Only Thane voted against it. Even the peaceful species wanted to help these new humans join the galactic community. So it is decided, Speaker Voth announced. General Vex, you will take a fleet to Earth. Show them our power. Make them understand their place in the galaxy. Be gentle if they surrender quickly. As the council meeting ended, Thane approached young Crix. You seem troubled by my words, the old keeper said. I have studied many species, Crix replied. Most of them have biological limits. When they face something too dangerous, their bodies and minds tell them to stop, to run away or surrender. It keeps them alive. And the humans? Thane asked, though he already knew the answer. From what little we know, they seem to be different. When they face danger, something in them says, fight harder. It is not logical. It should not work. But somehow it does. Thane nodded slowly. The elders said the Relentless Ones would have broken limits. Where others see walls, they see challenges. Where others see endings, they see new beginnings. General Vex was already planning his attack. He would take 50 ships to Earth. He would destroy a few of their cities to show his power. Then they would surrender, just like everyone else always did. On Earth, Commander Lee Daeho saw the alien ships long before they wanted to be seen. He sent messages to every military base on Earth and in space. Unknown ships approaching Earth, he broadcast. Large fleet. This is not a friendly visit, Dr. Park. Somin was called to the government building in Seoul. President Yu Hae-jin wanted to know what the scientists thought about the approaching ships. They are more advanced than us, Dr. Park said honestly. But that does not mean we should give up before we try. All across Earth, people looked up at the sky. They knew something big was coming. Some were scared. Some were excited. But most of them had the same thought that had carried humanity through every crisis in their history. We will find a way to deal with this. In space, General Vex looked at the small blue planet growing larger on his screens. It looked so peaceful, so weak. This would be easy. He had no idea that he was about to meet the species the elders had warned about. The species that had never learned the meaning of the word quit. The warning had been given. The vote had been taken. Now humanity would meet the galaxy, and the galaxy would learn that some species just do not know when to stop fighting.